I am going to be making 3 colors of duck meringues today. So we'll start off with some yellow rubber ducky inspired ducks. Maybe move this a little closer. And then the next, we're going to alternate rows. The next row and the next row will be different colors. And I'll do white ducks. And I'll make some ducks that look like mallards with green heads and brown bodies. So I just start by piping the bodies. Start by piping a blob, and then I just kind of move my hand back and then ease off pressure to taper off into the tail. And then the heads are simple spheres. I've only ever made yellow ducks and white ducks before. I thought mallards might be kind of hard, but I actually have a squishmallow that is a mallard duck, and they kept it really simple. And so I thought, well, if I keep it simple too, I think I can make something that looks like a mallard. Do one more in this row. And I wanted to make a thumbnail that showed all 3 for the live stream preview, but I obviously have never made mallards before, so I don't have that thumbnail. So I used I used a previous photo I had of just the yellow ducks, and I asked AI to show me what it would look like if they were all white or if they were colored like mallards. And I don't think AI is quite there yet to understand what I want it to do, so it helped a bit. But in the end, I still had to use Photoshop to create the thumbnail. So we'll see how close to that I can get my duckies. I'm really excited to see how they turn out. And then once these are done, I'm going to package them in 10-piece tubs, 3 of each color, and then 1 extra of whatever color I have the most of at the end. Make 10-piece tubs of meringues to sell at the farmer's market. Not this Saturday, but next Saturday. Give them some little wings. Kind of like to do all one side. Kind of works out well for ergonomics. Thanks, Catherine. This is one of my favorite meringue designs. 1, because they're cute. 2, because they're easier on my hands than a lot of other designs. And 3, because I think they're really cute to float on tea or coffee or cocoa, kind of like they're floating on a pond. There we go. This is meringue, so it is hot sugar syrup whipped into egg whites and then colored with gel-based food coloring. And once I finish them all, I bake them at a really low temperature for a long time. And then they end up being like crunchy vanilla marshmallows. Kind of like Lucky Charms, but way better when it's homemade. But you can use these same techniques for buttercream. I am still not super confident with buttercream, so I hope to someday translate that to cake decorating, but meringue is a lot easier for me to work with. And you could use these same techniques to make marshmallows, just a slightly different recipe. The recipe I use for these ones is on my YouTube channel, how to make, I think I called it meringue characters and animals. But I have made marshmallows before. It usually includes cornstarch and gelatin to make them squishy. And then of course you don't have to bake them, you just let them set. Good question. So I'm doing yellow, white, and then I'm making mallard ducks. So they'll have brown bodies and green heads, like the male ducks. And then when they're all done, I'm going to package those 3 colors into 10-piece tubs to sell at my local farmer's market next Saturday. And I thought those 3 colors would look really pretty together. I'll do the wings next on these little guys, and then I'll give them eyes. Hi, Elena. Thanks for tuning in. Yep, so the farmer's market, I live in Helena, Montana, so that's where my local farmer's market is. And it is a very nice market. We have people from all over the state. Lots of different things like food, like I sell, and jewelry and crafts. Food trucks, produce, of course, all the farmers and the produce and eggs. Montana is a big agricultural state, so I think we've got some pretty good produce. I'm super excited. This is the first year I've done baking full time, and this is my 4th year attending this farmer's market. So the first year I did it, I was still working full time, and I did about 1 market a month just because that's what I could do with my time. And then I ended up going part-time shortly after that so that I could do 2 markets a month. And now that I'm full-time, I'm trying to do at least 3 markets a month. I think my ideal schedule would probably be do a market each weekend for 3 weekends in a row and then take a weekend off. So this is week 2 of farmer's market. I just do farmers markets, and then I do pickup and local delivery options if people want to order outside of that, which is really nice because it keeps the overhead low. And I'm currently not interested in owning a whole bakery. Someday it might be nice to have a commercial kitchen, but the overhead is a factor in that. And the only reason I'd want a commercial kitchen is so that I could maybe ship meringues on the off season, because with Montana's cottage food laws right now, you can't ship even inside the state of Montana. It has to all be in person. So farmers markets work really well for that. And those laws might change. We're seeing that trend around the country. Like Oregon, for example, has allowed selling baked goods wholesale to like other cafes and stuff, or shipping. And so I think it's only a matter of time before Montana catches up with that. But if I could get a commercial kitchen before that, I could ship legally. So but I don't think I'd ever want to make it a bakery. Thank you. I like how they're turning out so far. I love Mallards, and I've been wanting to do them forever, so this is making me very happy. My parents are from Montana, but I actually grew up in Oregon. There are a lot of ducks down there. Lots of mallards. But I am very happy to be back into the swing of market season. So I did, the first farmer's market was the last Saturday of April, and then I did a market last Saturday. And I'm taking this Saturday off so that I can spend Mother's Day with my mom, hang out with her, which is really nice because after those first two markets, I'm exhausted, like very fulfilled. I was really happy to do them, but the pace you have to bake to keep up each week is pretty exhausting. So this gives me a chance to kind of get ahead. Now I'm going to do yellow. So it's just going to be these three colors repeated. So yellow ducks, white ducks, and mallards. And I don't know if I can probably fit another row of white on this sheet before I have to change sheets. But I think these will look really pretty packaged together. Whenever I'm designing a set of meringues, I like to make sure the colors are harmonious. Thank you. I'm glad you like watching. This is the kind of stuff I watch in my downtime too, like POV lunch service videos and baking, ASMR. You know, that's a good question. I'm not sure. I am guessing it's going to be about 3 sheets. Sometimes I can get 4 sheets, but when I divide the colors like this, it tends to end up as 3 because I'm not great at estimating how much of each color I'll need, especially for newer. I guess it's not really a new design, but it's a new color combination for this design. So I do end up with a little bit of extra meringue that I don't use just because I don't have enough to create the full designs. So probably 3 sheets. Move this a little closer. The extra, sometimes I will experiment with it and kind of try out designs that I'm not sure about. Other times, if it's just a little bit left in the bag and it's a bag like this with a little tiny tip, I might just throw it away. Or sometimes I might pipe them into meringue kisses, and then they're just kind of sample quality. And I like bringing samples to the market because not everybody is quite sure what meringues taste like. Most people have had them before, but it's just kind of a nice reminder if they like it or not, and then they get to try before they buy. So I always feel bad about throwing stuff away, but sometimes it's just so little that I would rather save the time. And meringue does break down over time, but I love working with it because I've been able to work with it for 4-hour stretches before without it breaking down too much. Whereas like marshmallow, you're on a time limit because the gelatin in the marshmallow is going to set up. So that's why I think meringue is one of my favorite things to work with because it's pretty forgiving and you don't have to rush. I don't have like a formal tutorial for this. I do have a recipe video you can check out just in general, and it shows kind of step by step how to make really basic like chicken meringues. So you can check out that video. I think it's titled something like how I make animal meringues or character meringues. And the thumbnail has just like a sheet like this, but with all little white chickens. All right, we'll see you in a bit. All right, almost done with this row. And when I start the next row on another sheet, I think we're gonna do mallards. So once this row is done, I'm going to get up and put it in the tray in the food dehydrator. And these can be baked in a normal oven, but I got a food dehydrator just for these. And I'll bake it for 3 hours at 165 degrees Fahrenheit, so a very low temperature relative to other things that you bake. All right, so I'll be back with that other tray. Let's see, Meringue, meringue. Be right back. Okay, we'll start with some mallards. Yep, that's the right spelling. Okay, get this all adjusted how I want. I have not done sourdough before. I love eating bread, but making bread is not really my thing. Kneading dough is just, I don't know, it's the kneading the dough feels like a lot of effort to me, and then I'm very weird with dough where I just don't like to get my hands all messy, which is partly why I like meringue, because you just use a piping bag. I would love to get better at bread because people do amazing things with bread. But it's just kind of tedious to me. Which probably sounds weird because these can be tedious in the way that they're repetitive, but I really respect and admire people who make bread and croissants. Somehow I always mess up the yeast too, where it just like, I kill it or something and it doesn't rise properly. So maybe someday I'll learn, but in the meantime, I'll just buy bread from other bakers. I'll turn this so you can see better. Other things I make are macarons. That's one of my core menu items at the farmer's market. And I can pretty regularly sell out of those, so I just keep making them. And I've been making marshmallows, but they are, I feel like, just a lot more effort for me at this point. So I occasionally like to make them because people really like them. and you can make some really cute things with marshmallow. But it's just kind of an occasional thing. Whereas meringues and macarons are like my core menu. And I've been wanting to add cakes for a while now, so I've finally started offering chiffon cakes, which are really light and airy, and I love them. They're one of my favorites. And those have been selling pretty well. I just sell them by the slice to kind of get the word out there that I make them. And then people can order them as 6-inch or 8-inch cakes for their special occasions. But those are kind of the three things I focus on. Macarons, meringues like these, and cake. Alright, what do I need to make next? Probably yellow ducks. I'm so excited to have time this week where I don't have to do a farmer's market on the weekend. I am excited to do 3 markets in a row most weeks or most months. But I was exhausted after these last 2 back-to-back. I got home Saturday after the market. I ate and then I just passed out. And then the next day I did nothing productive. Sometimes I work on Sundays too just to keep up, but my body was telling me like, nope, you're gonna sit on the couch all day and you're gonna play video games and sleep more. Hi, Amethyst! And that was exactly what I needed, was just to rest. And then I started yesterday with a ton of energy. Duckies! I love duckies too. I'm glad you like duckies. Fun fact, my first word was apparently ducky. My mom tells me. And I don't know why that is, if I had a rubber ducky or what, but and I have lots of meringues planned this week. I kind of want to make my next market picnic themed. So the idea started with things like frogs and bees and snails and squirrels, maybe some mushrooms, which are all kind of maybe more garden themed. Thank you. And then to kind of keep going with the picnic theme, I want to make chiffon cake with whipped cream and strawberry jam and make it look kind of like a sandwich and pack it like a sandwich in those triangular plastic containers. And then I want to make shortbread cookies shaped like crinkle fries and package them in little fry containers with little dipping sauces that are really like cookies and cream buttercream, honey lavender buttercream, chocolate ganache, things like that. So they're kind of like Dunkaroos or whatever you call those. So kind of with these garden picnic animals and then the little sandwich and fry theme. Hoping that'll be picnicky enough. I'm not sure how people will like it, but oh, and bees, little like honey bees. I'm not sure which of those designs I'll do tomorrow, but I'm looking forward to them. It's really fun for me to plan meringues in my menu around a theme each market. I haven't always done that, but this year I feel like I have more time and creative energy to spend in planning those things. And for one of these markets, I want to do like a circus or carnival theme. Another one I want to do dinosaur theme. Sometimes I just like to get back to chickens, pigs, and cows because a lot of people really like those. I really want to do something just totally cat themed at some point too, like cat cakes, cat macarons, cat cookies, cat meringues, all the cats. I have a cat. She's a Maine Coon. They call her Blue Tabby is the pattern. So she's like gray with some white on her, and she has stripes, but they're not super visible because her fur is so thick that oops, that's the wrong color. That she ends up not looking so tabby-like. She looks more gray with some variation. She's so pretty. And she was so sweet this morning. I did yoga, and she always wants to be on the mat. The mat's the coolest thing in the world to her. And when I was kind of winding down and doing corpse pose and just letting my body relax, she sat by my head and she just starts licking it and like, good job, you worked out today. And then she got real feisty for like 2 hours. So she's running around, trying to get me to chase her, jumping in the bathtub. She's very sassy, but I think it's cute. So I would really like to do a cat-themed market with a bunch of cat-themed baked goods. Okay, back to Mallards. We'll see what color I run out of first. I might have, by total accident, somehow portioned these all to where I'll have about the same amount of each. Should be amazing. I was thinking about doing hedgehogs and succulents and cactuses this week, but I thought maybe I'll save that for later in the summer where I'm really craving a desert theme. Wanted to focus on a bit of a variety this week and next week so that I have more meringues to carry forward to next week's market. Same with macarons. I'm just going to make a ton of macarons because they freeze really well so that I don't have to scramble so much between markets to making ones. the mallards are pretty close to the thumbnails I mocked up, so that's exciting. I don't know what I'm going to do for a thumbnail when I eventually do like dinosaur meringues, because I've never done those before, so maybe it'll just be some sketches from my sketchbook on what I hope them to be. And then I always change it after the stream anyways, with a picture of a complete tray like this, so that the video recording gives people an idea of what we did. Sometimes the bag burps like that and leaves a little hole with the air. So I just put it back in, and I maybe put a little pressure into it, but I mostly just pull the meringue into a point. We had a bit of a rainy weekend here in Helena, so I decided not to stream yesterday because sometimes the moisture in the air can make meringues a little bit trickier. Not so much with the whipping and the piping, but after they're baked, if there's a lot of moisture in the air, they can get pretty sticky. And when they're out sticking to your fingers, it's hard to get them into storage. So I did end up making some really simple meringue kisses, because I can quickly package those or get them into airtight containers to save for later. And I also have a dehumidifier, so I can use that if I really need to make meringues in spite of the rain. Yeah, I'm from Helena, and I sell at the Helena Farmers Market, which is down on Fuller Avenue. Not every Saturday. I'm trying to do a bunch of Saturdays this year. So like not this Saturday, but next Saturday I'll be there selling them. And then people can order them for local pickup and delivery on my website, colbyjackrabbit.com. And sometimes I'll do other events too at the Civic Center, the fairgrounds. During the summer, I like to maximize how many farmers markets I do, just because that's where a big part of my customer base is. And when you pay for a space year round, you might as well make good use of it. And it's just nice knowing like exactly how to set up, when to set up, knowing you do have a space reserved. Which reminds me, I need to text the market manager and tell her I won't be there today so she can figure out who else to put in my spot. All right, so I'm gonna go put these in the food dehydrator, and I'll be back with a new tray, and we'll start with white ducks. There we go. I'll do, what do I need to do next? Yellow or, maybe I'll do a mallard next. I was trying to keep consistent with the pattern, but not that it matters too much, but. All right, I have a little bit more for a couple more mallards. So we're getting close to the end here. Probably get almost one more row of each. I made some macarons before this that are just sitting. I'm letting them form skin before I pop them in the oven. So I'll probably pop them in the oven about the time I start these in the food dehydrator. Then I gotta figure out what to do with the rest of my day. Probably get some lunch. And then I guess I could do some kind of graphic design work. I like to make text menus, and I like to make some nice prints. Usually just like 5x7 prints. So maybe, I don't know if I'll get to a photo shoot for these today. Maybe. But use that to make some 5x7 prints and do some marketing. Because I package these in deli containers and you can see through them, but it's not as visible as I'd like. So I like to display them in their deli containers, but I also like to have a photo of what's in the containers so people can visualize a little better. So that might be it. Might be doing some design work, might be doing some photography. After that, I don't know, either go for a walk or do a workout or something. Ooh, geese would be fun. Geese are a little tricky because with the longer necks, the meringue likes to fall over. So I could do a kind of a 2D design where I draw them out almost like a royal icing transfer. Or there's another technique I've been wanting to experiment with, and I don't know if it'll work. I've never seen anyone do it. Maybe people have. But piping a body like this, and this idea was more for like a brontosaurus because I want to make dinosaurs. So piping a body and then sticking a pretzel rod in there, and then you can kind of put the piping tip around the pretzel rod and pipe straight up around it so that it has some structure. So if that works for my dinosaurs, then I think I would maybe try it for geese too. And that'd be cute. Could do some white geese, some Canadian geese. I'm gonna pipe head on these guys just in case I run out before. That way I don't have any headless ducks. But kind of same idea for giraffes and alpacas, where I thought, oh, those would be cute. But kind of scared to do them because I'm afraid their necks would fall out, like collapse. The other concern with that is a lot of people come to my booth knowing that meringues and macarons and marshmallows are gluten-free by nature. I'm not an exclusively gluten-free bakery, but a lot of my things just happen to be gluten-free. So not everyone can eat them still, like people with celiac I wouldn't recommend, because I still handle and cook with flour on a lot of the same surfaces and with the same utensils and equipment. But by using the pretzels, the meringues aren't gluten-free anymore. But I could use gluten-free pretzels. I don't know how those taste, so I'll have to try them out at some point. I know that pretzels taste really good with meringue, so I am definitely not opposed to that idea, but if they taste just as good with the gluten-free pretzels, then that might still be a nice option. I have a friend who wanted me to make the jumbo pretzel rods with, you know, like encapsulated by meringue. So I used one of those really big round piping tips to make those for her, and they were pretty tasty. I liked them. Not something I would have made normally, but I'm glad she requested them because it was a fun experiment. Alright, so I'm out of yellow, but I have a little bit of white and a little bit of brown left, so we'll just finish out these last few rows with whatever we have. Let's see if I can get one more. Yay! Thank you. I love duckies. In real life and as meringues, I think they're cute. There's a park I like to walk in locally that has a ton of geese. Oh, hello. Hello, Norway. My grandma took me on a vacation to Finland and Norway in 2013, and it was so beautiful. Norway reminds me a lot of Montana, but like the mountains are just like even bigger. Alright, I think these are our last few duckies. See how much I can get with the brown meringue. Maybe one more? Let's see. Alright, I still have some green left, so these are just going to be some meringue kisses that are like samples. Oh, yay! I think this would be a really fun project with grandkids. I have a little recipe tutorial, which I think I linked in the description of this stream. But it kind of goes through step by step the recipe and instructions. I hope you have a good time making them with your grandkids. I feel like that would be a fun memory for them, a fun project. Yay! So hopefully that helps. If you have questions, feel free to message me. I will do my best to respond. I think this is a really good design. This and chickens. These are really good to start with because they're just kind of a bunch of simple shapes stuck together. The first ones I did were not that pretty, but the great thing about meringue is they still taste good. So even though I have failures, I'm still happy because I get to eat them. All right, so I think that's all the meringue I've got left. Thank you all for joining me today. I'm going to put these in the food dehydrator for about 3 hours at 165 degrees Fahrenheit. Let them cool down and then package them. And then I'll sell them at my farmer's market next weekend. So I'll be doing another live stream tomorrow, same time, 11 o'clock a.m. Mountain Time. And it will either be like frogs and snails or squirrels and honeybees. I haven't quite decided what combination of what yet, but some kind of pond picnic, spring garden animals, I guess. So I hope you all have a good rest of your day. Thanks again for joining, and I will see you later.